I was working the night shift at the hospital when I heard the noise. It was a faint sound, like someone crying. I followed the sound to the old abandoned wing of the hospital. The lights were out, and the only light came from the moon shining through the windows. I crept down the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound was getting louder now. It was definitely someone crying. I reached the end of the hallway and saw a figure sitting on the floor. It was a young woman, and she was sobbing uncontrollably. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked up at me, and her eyes were filled with terror. "They're coming," she said. "They're coming for me." "Who's coming?" I asked. "Them," she said. "The things in the shadows." I looked around, but I didn't see anything. "There's nothing there," I said. "They're there," she said. "I can see them." I didn't know what to say. I didn't believe in ghosts or monsters, but I could see that she was terrified. "I'm going to help you," I said. "Don't worry." I took her hand and helped her to her feet. She was shaking so badly that I could barely hold her up. We started to walk back down the hallway, but she stopped me. "Wait," she said. "I have to go back." "Back?" I asked. "Why?" "I forgot something," she said. "I have to go back." She turned and ran back down the hallway. I called after her, but she didn't stop. I stood there for a moment, listening to her sobs. Then, I turned and walked away. I never saw her again, but I still think about her sometimes. I wonder what happened to her, and if she's still out there, somewhere, being chased by the things in the shadows. In the hospital, the flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows on the pale, sterile walls. The scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, making my skin crawl. As a nurse, I had grown accustomed to the eerie atmosphere of the night shift, but tonight was different. It started with a faint sound, barely audible above the hum of medical equipment. A soft, almost melodic whisper that sent shivers down my spine. I brushed it off as my imagination, exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. Then came the footsteps. Uneven and irregular, they echoed down the empty corridor. My heart pounded in my chest as I peered into the dimness, trying to catch a glimpse of the source. There was nothing but darkness, and the feeling that something was lurking just out of sight. I continued my rounds, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. But as I reached the room at the end of the hall, the shift in the atmosphere became undeniable. The room's door was ajar, and a faint glow emanated from within. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door handle. Pushing the door open, a chill washed over me. A pale figure stood at the foot of the patient's bed, facing away from me. Long, dark hair cascaded down her back, and her tattered hospital gown was stained with something dark and sticky. Blood. "Are you lost?" I managed to stammer, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face devoid of emotion, but splattered with fresh blood. My heart raced, and I took a step back, bumping into the doorframe. "Help me," she whispered, her voice sending a shiver down my spine. "They won't let me leave." Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. Fear rooted me to the spot as the woman floated toward me, her feet not touching the ground. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips. The lights above flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. In that moment, the shadows seemed to come alive, swirling and coiling like sinister entities. When the lights returned, the woman was inches away from my face, her icy breath sending a wave of terror through me. I closed my eyes, praying it was all a nightmare. But when I opened them again, the room was empty, and the feeling of dread lingered. I stumbled out of the room, my heart pounding in my ears. From that night on, the hospital held a malevolent aura, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Patients spoke of a ghostly presence that haunted the halls, and some claimed to have seen the same blood-stained figure. I left the hospital soon after, unable to endure the horror that had taken root there. But to this day, I still hear her haunting whispers, and I wonder what happened to that poor soul trapped within the hospital's walls. The memory of that night will forever haunt my nightmares, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks in the most unexpected places. The doctor stood at the foot of the bed, staring down at the patient. The patient was covered in bandages, their face obscured. The doctor had never seen anything like it before. "What happened to you?" the doctor asked. The patient didn't answer. They just lay there, unmoving. The doctor reached out and touched the bandages. They were cold and clammy. "Can you hear me?" the doctor asked. The patient didn't move. The doctor started to feel a sense of dread. Something was wrong here. The doctor reached out and pulled back the bandages. The patient's face was a mass of blood and gore. The doctor gasped. "What happened to you?" the doctor asked again. The patient's eyes opened. They were black, empty sockets. The doctor screamed. The patient's mouth opened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. The patient lunged at the doctor. The doctor woke up in a cold sweat. It had been a dream, but it felt so real. The doctor got out of bed and went to the window. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. It was a beautiful day, but the doctor couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The doctor knew that the dream was a warning. Something was out there, something evil. And it was coming for them.